Okay,
Okay, so
so yeah, go ahead.
yeah, yeah, you're good to go, Ellen.
Okay,
Yeah, bye bye. Enjoy the class.
thank you. So if anyone is on the live stream now, my name is Ellen Shapiro, and I'm happy that you're here checking out my Qigong for Beginners class. The class isn't actually scheduled to start for another 5 minutes, so you're welcome to just stay on the stream and we will begin in a few minutes. And this is Qigong for Beginners, and it is Monday, April 5th. Thank you.
Hi, Ellen. I will be your TA for this class.
Okay, hi.
Can you please make me your co-host?
Yep.
Thanks.
So Todd, will you be on the whole time or just in the beginning or?
Yes, I will be for the whole time.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Cassandra,
Hi, Cassandra. Welcome.
thank you.
We'll get started in a minute. So I'm Ellen Shapiro, and this is Qigong for Beginners. We're just allowing a little more time for people to come on. And I've already put in the chat, this is going to be recorded, and you can request the recording to listen to again, practice with it if you like, by requesting it. And the email address to request it is help@getsetup.io. I typed that in the chat. And we have Todd here from Get Set Up, and he is here for any technical support. So if you're having any kind of issues with Zoom or anything like that, just type your message to him in the chat and he'll do his best to help you. I just want to invite people. Well, not at this moment, it's not critical. What we're going to do is I'm going to do a little slide, just a very introductory slideshow in the beginning, and then we're going to move. So let's see, what time is it? Okay, so I'm going to start the recording. Here we go. All right, we are being recorded. Again, this is Qigong for Beginners, Monday, April 5th, and I'm Ellen Shapiro. I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and that's where I'm coming to you right from my living room. And welcome to you wherever you are around the country and around the world. We've had people here from the UK and elsewhere. So in Qigong for Beginners, I'm going to give you a little orientation explanation of Qigong for anyone that is brand new, hasn't heard of it, or has heard of it and really doesn't know anything about it. Some of you have been to my class before. This will be a little bit repetitive, but it's just a few minutes and then we'll get moving. So let me go to my slides here. First, yes, that's open. Okay. Screen share. Okay, here we are. Qigong for Beginners. And this is just a little bit about me. So I do live in Santa Fe now. I've been here since 2008. I am a native New Yorker, born and raised, and I lived there most of my life, moved to New Jersey, and then I moved here. My first career was in the world of finance. I used to, crank numbers all day long and do tax returns and all kinds of stuff like that. But while I was doing that, I was always busy learning other things that were closer to my heart, which was more like the healing arts. So I'm a Reiki master. I'm certified in a number of different healing techniques, and I'm a Qigong teacher. And my passion is really helping people discover how simple it is to feel better, to take back, like your knowledge of your body and how it works in ways that can, whatever is going on, here is some self-care that I can do. Also knowing, there are times when I really need help from a doctor or another practitioner, but there's a whole lot of everyday kinds of challenges that we have in our bodies that we can do a lot for ourselves. So that's what I love doing. And yeah. So many of you I know are regulars on Get Set Up, and it's just a beautiful learning platform helping you to learn all kinds of useful things from people like yourself, people who are older and have life experience, to empower you to be healthier and do more wonderful things in your life. So the request is in all the classes, but especially in a class like this, which is, it's a movement practice, and Qigong is a communal practice. It's actually traditionally was done by groups of people, like in a park or something like that. So the invitation is to have your cameras on. Nobody is going to be like studying you or critiquing your form. It's really for a sense of togetherness. And again, you're invited to request the recording after class. And that email address is right here and also in the chat. Now we have a new feature with the live stream where some people are not enrolled in the class, but they're watching through a live stream as a way to preview the class and get a taste of it. And if you are one of those people, we invite you to then come and register for the class. And just a note that Get Set Up is not a commercial platform. We're not paid to promote specific products or anything like that. So here's what we're going to cover today. What is Qigong? Where does it come from? Why practice it? Who can benefit? And some basic principles of Qigong. The idea here is for you to be exposed to what Qigong is and to learn some simple things that you can try at home. So think about right now, what made you interested in this? And what is one thing you are hoping to learn from today's class? So just keep that in mind as we go forward. And so what is Qigong, this oddly spelled word? And it's sometimes spelled Chigong. There's some variations, but that word, the first part of the word is Qi, and here it's spelled Qi, but it's also sometimes spelled Chi. And this is a very ancient healing art and form of movement healing from China. It's thousands of years old. There's lots of different kinds of Qigong. So sometimes after this class, people say, you know, what can you point us to online? And I say, there is so much there. There's no lack, but finding what fits for you and what's right for you. So I've actually prepared some notes, which you'll get after the class, which give you some ideas about that. Qigong is one of the 4 pillars of Chinese medicine. So even though we're not used to the idea of movement being like a healing art, we know we feel better, but movement as healing is kind of a new idea for a lot of us. But in traditional Chinese medicine, it was considered on par with acupuncture, herbs, and their kinds of body work. So what is Qigong? It is a compound word meaning the qi, the vital energy or life force in our body, which we usually just call our energy, and gong, which is the work or the building of the qi. So if we put the words together, Qigong is the building and cultivating of your vital force. And always the question, can I do Qigong? Who can do Qigong? And the answer is anyone who can move. So, you know, I used to have in my classes when I was studying with my teacher, there was a woman in the classes who had been in a wheelchair her whole life. She had never, you know, she had polio very early probably in her childhood, and was in a wheelchair, and she loved Qigong. She could do lots of it from the chair. So when you're in the chair, you're not using your legs and you're not using your body weight in the same way. But other than that, the benefits are just as wonderful. It's gentle, it's low impact, and it's good for anyone that wants to do something good for their health. If you want more energy, if you want to boost your immune system, which we all do, especially right now, and if you want some relief, like some emotional balance in a simple way, Qigong can help even out your moods. It helped me kind of move out of a low-grade depression that I often had. I don't really have that now. It's good for anxiety and calming. And sometimes people get agitated at night or they have trouble sleeping. The Qigong can help with that. So it is calming, yet also energizing. Another beautiful thing about Qigong, and this is how I found it, is that it can help you recover from something, an injury, illness, long-term stress. So I had a bad knee injury, and there was a lot that I couldn't really do. And so I started practicing Qigong in a chair and eventually got stronger. And now I rarely need to practice in a chair. And then I always like to say on Get Set Up that by practicing together as older people, we are following an ancient tradition. So in China, you will see that. I used to see it in New York, actually in Chinatown, sometimes at the right time of day. You'd see older people in the park practicing. They were probably doing Tai Chi, not Qigong, but very similar, related exercises. And they're just really beautiful at any age, but especially when we don't want to do things that are high impact, or we have injuries, or we have long-term chronic things going on in our bodies. So the basic principles that Qigong is organized around, Qigong is Chinese medicine, so it's based on the principles of Chinese medicine, which is more energy medicine, a little different than Western medicine, actually pretty different. So this idea of getting the qi flowing, getting the qi moving through the joints, through all of the channels in the body, which are called meridians. So acupuncturists balance the flow of qi in the body by putting needles in. Oh dear, let me just turn my phone off. Didn't know it was still on. Goodness. I've never heard it ring like that. Okay. So getting the qi flowing, and the idea is that when the qi is stuck, that can lead to like pain or injury or just a lack of flexibility. Another principle is working and grounding. So grounding means really feeling your feet and your lower body and moving from your roots, which I'll explain more in a minute. Moving with awareness. So becoming aware of how are you holding your body with unnecessary tension. You might notice sometimes it's just a habit and we don't even know we're doing it, like shoulders up, or maybe like head, like this is one of my things. Sometimes my head is like sort of to one side instead of straight. So Qigong teaches you and trains you in being more aware. So that's for better posture, and it's also to avoid injury. And finally, the last principle is just moving in a relaxed way. When we are tensing up, if we're reaching beyond our capacity, and some kinds of movement will ask you to do that. Like, let's say you're in yoga and you're just like, okay, how high can I stretch my arm? And the teacher might invite you to do that. Here that's not what we're trying to do. We're actually trying to see what is a good range of motion that I can have that is a little less than 100%, so my body can maintain its relaxation. So when we're relaxed, the qi flows. When we're tense, the qi doesn't flow as easily. So if you think of the qi, even though it's a subtle energy, which we can't see, but sometimes I use the metaphor of water flowing through a pipe. So let's say the pipe is soft and flexible, like for example, our blood vessels. When it gets tight and stiff, then the water can't flow through, or the blood can't flow through as easily. So same idea here. Okay, so I'm going to stop the slide share. And we're going to get up and move. But before we do, let's just see. Yeah, just a couple of things if you are totally new to my class. We do practice, most of us will be practicing standing. You are invited to have a chair handy. And if you're not sure how strong your legs are or how your energy is, then you can really experiment. I would try it in the chair first, then stand up and see what feels better. Another thing that is interesting and a little misleading about Qigong is it can look like we're not doing much from the outside, but we're doing a lot of internal building of energy. So like we'll do this where we're standing like this, just in place. I'm not moving, but it actually takes quite a bit of muscle energy here to just hold my arms up like this and stay relaxed, not get like that. So sometimes people are surprised. They're like, I'm starting to feel really tired in this class, and I don't know why. It's not like working out at the gym. And if you happen to notice that, if that starts to happen for you, please sit in the chair. It's perfectly fine. You'll get a good class from that. So we'll come up to standing, and usually Qigong is practiced barefoot or in socks. However you set that up for yourself, you want to make sure that you have good traction. You're not worried about slipping. So I like to stand on a carpet or yoga mat, and sometimes both. And if you're wearing orthotics, your feet are very weak, and you really feel you need that support, of course, practice with shoes on. Part of the reason for the barefoot is, again, because we're doing this work around grounding, which means feeling your feet, which you can do more easily when you don't have shoes on. I don't know what your temperature is like. It's very warm here today, and I see some of you have like a layer on, and that's great, because if you get warm, you may want to take it off. And I think that's all I want to say. Come up to standing, and we're going to start practicing some Qigong. Okay, here we are. Very good. So let's just do a simple bow, and this is like honoring that we're entering this practice space together. And imagine, even though we're on Zoom and we're all over the place, that we're all like entering into our practice space together, and the bow is just simply like that. Welcome to practice. And let's start with just some shaking. And shaking is one way to start activating the qi in the body. So let's just take your right leg and just jiggle it a little bit. You can lift your heel a little, just shaking it out like that. And if you're sensitive or if you have arthritis, you want to do this very gently, just maybe like that, like barely, you can barely see it. So I'm just doing it a little bigger here. And that's another thing that I will say over and over is really modify what I'm showing you for your body. Do it smaller or slower if you need to, if that feels better to you. I'm doing the other leg now. I'm just jiggling and shaking it out. And now we'll do some bouncing from the knees. So not really moving, my upper body is just kind of hanging loose. I'm not trying to move it, it's just happening with a little bounce in the knees. Okay, and then really just feel where your feet make contact with the floor underneath you. And I'm gonna come forward a little tiny bit, but you can still see my feet there. And we're just going to rock back and forth. So keep your knees slightly bent, and you're just lifting a little bit from your heels onto the balls of your feet and then back. So now, if you can, lifting your toes up as you lean into your heels. Back and forth a few times. And then spread your toes wide on the floor. And really see if you can feel the whole point of contact between the bottom of your feet and the floor. So this is part of our grounding. And imagine now that you could send roots down from the bottom of your feet, and we use this grounding point. So let me show you where that is. Here's an easy way. Just lift your heel. So I'm like balancing mainly on my left leg. My right foot is still connected with the ground. I just lift the heel, And now pressing down into the ball of the foot right in the middle there. That is your grounding point. That is kidney 1. Do it with the other foot. And sometimes we do a massage where we literally sit and we massage into that point. Okay, so now imagine we're not changing anything except using up the power of our imagination here. So bend your knees a little and imagine now that you have tree roots growing down from that balance point in the middle of your foot all the way down into the earth, like a tree, like a plant. And imagine now that you could drink in water, nourishment from the soil up through those roots, up through your feet, into your legs. And we're drawing all of this beautiful grounding earth energy up. I put my left hand just below my belly button, right on top. And roll the shoulders back and down. And then the head is looking straight ahead. So we're actually now in a stance. So Qigong has movements. We have things like the shaking. We have warm-ups. And we have stances. So what we're in right now is a stance. It's called Dantian settling. And you can feel it's very calming, right? It's very grounding. This area, it's called that because this area below our belly button is the lower dantian, and that is a center for a vital energy in the body. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what else. Let's do a few more warm-ups. So let's actually warm up the dantian itself. So put the left hand and then the right on top. And we're going to come up on the right, circling around and above the navel and below it. So all around this area. And you should be feeling some contact of your hands on your body. And now we'll go a little faster. And this is warming up the qi in the dantian. So you might start to literally feel warmer as we do these warm-ups. And that's a good sign. Okay, and now we're going to take all of this nice warmth that's in our hands and we're going to push it down onto our knees. So I'm going to come around like this. I'm coming down on my left and I'm circling around just above, just below the knees a few times. Then I come up and go the other way, circling the other direction. And then just rub over the knees, behind, all around. Good. So part of the warm-ups is, again, warming up the joints. So the knees are very important. Let's do a little bit for our hips. So let's do a little hip circles, but these are more like semicircles. So think of like a letter U, like a sideways letter U. That's what we're going to do with our hips, and then we're going to go back the other way. So I'm going to go to my right. My feet are together. I go to the back and around like that. Now, if I was to do a full circle, I'd be continuing. Instead, I'm going to go back the other way. Just a little different movement. Repeating that. One more time. Good. And then let's go the other way. And just to notice that there's different kinds of hip circles that you can do, and they all have a little bit different effect. So if we were to do this wide, it would feel different. But today we'll do it with our feet together, and we'll go the other way now. So I'm going to go to my left first, back, making that U, and then reversing it. One more time. And you might notice, like I just noticed, it feels a little different on those two sides. Okay, let's do something. This will also open up the hips and the shoulders, and we'll do what's called empty coat sleeves. So you imagine, a coat and the sleeves are just empty, so they're kind of just hanging. So that's the feeling. So I start turning my torso, and this hand's going to come up on the shoulder. The other hand just loosely flaps onto the back. And if you want, it's optional. You can add some breathing here. So I inhale and I exhale as the hand lands. Inhale, exhale, like that. Okay, good. Slow that down. And let's do a little bit more of a hip opener here today. So feet are wide. And you're always on everything that I show you, always welcome to watch the first one and then join me or just follow right away. So I'm going to turn to the left side and I'm bending a little bit at the hip crease here and I'm looking behind me. So you might have to adjust your stance. I come up and I look the other way. And this one can be a little challenging, so just pay attention, do it at your level. So like I have pretty tight muscles in here and that's where I feel it. You might feel it somewhere else. Good. And this movement that we just did is good for the kidneys. We have our hands close to the kidneys, which are back here. And anytime we're doing twisting like that, we're actually bringing some blood and qi into the kidneys. And the kidneys are very important in Chinese medicine because they support all the other organs. So let's just give our kidneys a little bit more support here. So rub your hands together. Yeah, and then put your hands on your low back, and it's just usually, it's different for different people, but like here's my waist, so a little bit above the waist. Yeah, so the kidneys, because they're like the busy mother giving to all the other organs. And, just like moms can get overworked, our kidneys can get overworked by stress, by stimulation, by just a lot of mental input coming at us. Good. Okay, let's just do a little bit for our upper bodies too. Okay, so let's just do some little gentle arm swings up. My palms are facing my body and then they turn and come down. Really just moving the arms and shoulders here, not really doing anything with the legs. If you're tight in the shoulders, you do it lower and smaller. Okay, now we'll do some a little faster and a little more vigorous with bending the knees. Again, stay with the slow one if you need to. So like that. I'm taking an inhale and an exhale. And letting it slow down. Let's do a little yin-yang harmonizing where we bring the hands in. It doesn't matter which is on top. And extend out. And again, reverse it. So now the other one's on the top, coming out. And this is a good workout also for our pecs here. In and out into expression. Drawing back in and out. All right, and let's just do simple curling, twisting of the wrists and the fingers. Our wrists are important joints too, and even our fingers. So just playing, circling, stretching, and just let it jingle and tingle. And let's do a little bit of this where I'm just interlacing my hands. This stimulates between the fingers, which are connected to all these acupuncture points. Good, shaking that all out. And finally, just a little gentle neck stretch. So hunch the shoulders up, stick your chin out, and then pull the chin back, lower the shoulders. One more time. Scrunch it all up, stick that neck out, draw the neck back in, and lower. And just for awareness, let's just do a couple of shoulder rolls here. So just up, back, and around. Let the shoulder blades drop down your back, and then go the other way. So now I'm going to lift up in the back, up, forward, down, and around. All right, so hopefully you're feeling nice and warm and limber. And I do want to do one more thing as a warm-up. Somebody in a recent class was talking about that her back and her spine were starting to bother her during the class. And she might have had a condition that was just being a little bit irritated by what we were doing. I did say to her, and I would say that to anybody in this class, if your back starts to feel achy and tired, try the chair. And you don't have to stay in the chair, but do some repetitions. Because this whole class is standing with your body weight in one place. And most of us are not used to doing that. So when we sit, we take some of that weight off, and the body can just relax more. And the spine is still straight, but it doesn't have to work quite as hard to support itself as when we're standing. So let's do a little spine stretch, just because it's always a good thing to do. And let me show you from the side. So we're just going to kind of go back. So I'm curving this mid part of my spine. My shoulders just have to come forward and then back. And then I'm going to kind of stick my chest out and curve the other way. So you might have done these. This is usually done on the floor, but we'll just do it like this here today. Curving this way, like a C curve of your spine, and then curving back the other way. Let's do one more. And now, just to let it relax, let yourself kind of slowly drip down. And you don't have to go very far. This might be it for you. I'm going to go down a little more, and you want to just feel some stretching in your spine. If you want, you can use your hands for support. And then just rolling it up. Good. Okay, so in the Qigong for Beginners class, I show you different things, different aspects of Qigong. Sometimes in this class, we do a series of movements, and sometimes we're doing individual Qigong movements. In the other class I teach, which is Get Moving with Qigong, we're now starting to do a regular sequence in that class of the same movements in a certain order every week. So just to let you know what the two classes are. It's all beneficial, it's all good for you, so you can just go by your schedule, what time of day works for you, and whatever you would like to do with your Qigong practice. Do a little time check here. Okay, was there a comment? No, okay. So for today, I'm going to be leading you through this is a sequence, and this is designed for soothing the nervous system. All of Qigong will do that, but some Qigong works on specific organs or works on different aspects. This particular Qigong is specifically designed for the parasympathetic nervous system. So we have our nervous system basically has two different parts to it. And of course, it's all related. Our sympathetic nervous system is what connects to our muscles and has to do with like when we're being active. The parasympathetic is more dominant when we're resting, deep breathing, relaxing, and certainly when we're sleeping. The parasympathetic is what is dominant when you're healing from a wound. It's for digestion, all of these things that when the body is super active, the parasympathetic will kind of go in the background. And that's why, besides the fact that we need good rest at night, one of the reasons that, like, if you're recovering from something, that you need to sleep a lot is because a lot of repair is going on during that time. So if we're stressed or overstimulated, or we're just like don't know how to let go of tension, then we don't have enough parasympathetic. It's not working that well for us. And so that's what this is for balancing that. So it's also good for anxiety and overstimulation. Okay, so let's begin this practice here. So you're going to get your feet in a nice grounded stance. See where I am. And about hip width apart, which is like, here's my hip, so it's pretty much straight down. The main thing is that when I'm bending my legs, bending my knees, that my knees are coming out over my feet, and they're not going in like that towards the arch of the foot. So just something to be mindful of when you're putting yourself in your stance. Okay, so let's start with calm waters. So bring your hands up to here. And now the hands are going to come down, and the hands stay relaxed as though we're sliding down a pillar, like a marble or steel, something like that. It's very smooth. The hands slide down. We come out, but not too far. The hands come back and they slide up the pillar. So this is a variation of calming the waters. And I teach this a little differently in the other class. Same idea, calming, very, very restful for the body. Our hands are smoothing out all those worries and anxieties. Any stress that you need to just let go of. And I promise that anything really important that you need to be concerned about, it'll be here after class. But just for now, could you let that go and just move into this peaceful, calming movement? There's a little bit, it's subtle in the rise in the legs, a little bit of a sink, but not too much. So again, hands come in and lift as the legs lift. As the hands come down, I bend the knees a little bit, sink down. So here's an example of a simple Qigong form. If you just did this every day for maybe 7 to 9 times, you'd definitely be helping your nervous system. Okay. So now we're going to move into our next form. This is called waxing lung. And this is another simple movement. So I bend my knees, I inhale as I expand my hands, and I exhale as I gather the hands back. Inhaling, filling your lungs, and exhaling. So here the emphasis is on the breathing and on the lungs. So filling your lungs with healing chi. And exhaling, releasing. And notice also, this is a slow movement, maybe slower than you're used to moving. Do your best to just try and keep my pace here. Full breath in, exhale. Let's do 3 more. Okay, take a minute to pause here. We'll just be in Dantian settling and just notice, again, we're in Qigong, we're moving with awareness. How do you feel right now? And has anything changed for you? Do you feel a little more relaxed or more energized? Did your mind get a little quieter? And whatever it is, no judgment, just noticing. Let's shake out our feet here. Sometimes just from standing, we can build up some tension. See if anything else needs to just let go. Good. Let's continue now, and we'll go into our next form, which is called sifting. So the hands are like this, and as I bend a little deeper, my hands come up, so they're working in opposition. Now, as my hands come down, my legs start to straighten. Once more, sinking the body as the hands lift. And inhaling as you rise. And exhaling as you lower the hands. Most of the breathing is done in and out through the nose. Sifting. Why is this called sifting? And the answer is, notice what's happening. The legs go down, that is yin, moving towards the earth as the hands rise, that's the yang. So we're harmonizing the yin and yang. And we're feeling the effects in our bodies. As we sink down, we get closer to the ground, we feel the gravity, but our hands lift like they're starting to get ready to fly. And then the yang hand starts going towards the earth as the legs rise. A few more, and just feeling that. So it's just creating a harmony in the body here. Good. Once more, just briefly to Dantian. Observing the effect of that last movement, the sifting. And I need some water, and I encourage you, if you need water at any point, to just take some. Okay. So So the last form in this series for the nervous system is called walking the bear. And so again, feet about hip width and bring your hands like this. Imagine that you have a ball in your hands. And you're going to turn, holding the ball, and you're going to step this left foot slightly to the side. So I'm not completely turned like that, and I'm not like that. I'm kind of in between here. And now I'm going to just keep my hands in that position. I do 2 of these circles, circling around, down by the leg, coming up. I turn, and I turn the feet too. And now I turn to the other side, bending that forward leg a little bit, keeping the hands parallel and relaxed. Walking the bear. The feeling here is like being low and slow to the ground, like a bear walking slowly, and planting chi into the earth. Like how the squirrels do bury their nuts before the fall, before the winter. And my back is not rigid, but it's not falling over the leg either. Okay, turning. So this form is specifically for the earth element. And I'm sure you can feel it's very earthy. Let's do one more to either side. And once more, bring your hands back to here to the middle. And come to Dantian. Just check our time. Okay. So let's do another movement called showering chi. And this is like a shower for our energy field. So through Qigong, we start to detoxify and clean the meridian pathways in the body. And this movement that we're about to do extends that energy of cleansing a little bit out into our field. So we have this energy field around us. And if you've ever been like somebody kind of gets a little too close to you, like especially in a public place, and you have that feeling like, hey, you're in my space, you just feel a little uncomfortable, maybe you move back. That's because you're feeling your energy field, which is basically kind of from my fingertips all around. It's like an egg-shaped field of energy. So sometimes other people's energy or like some kind of negativity that we pick up maybe from, being online or the TV or whatever, sort of hangs out in our energy field. So this is a way to clean that all off. Okay, so showering chi. So you can start here just where we were a minute ago. Bending the knees, inhaling. Start to exhale as the hands turn, shoulder height. And one more inhale above your head. And I'll just sit. You don't need to sit, just so you can see where the top of my hands are. And now the hands come down. Fingertips are not quite meeting. The hands move out towards the earth and they come back. So let's continue again. So we lift up and I'm bending kind of like at the groin more, like kind of like sitting down. That's the movement. Exhale, turn, inhale, lifting. So the hands here are this shower, cleansing your energy field so beautifully, offering it towards the earth. Third time, inhale. Exhale. Another inhale. And the hands glide down through the energy field. Coming to here, and once more, observing how are you feeling now. Last time check, I think we have time for a little sound healing. We do? Okay. So we'll do a little sound healing here today, and then I will take any questions that you have. Okay, so we start the same way. So I bend the knees a little bit, but I'm not really sinking here so much, just bending the knees. I inhale to here, and now I'm going to bring my hands up. They're going to meet. So they meet like that, bring them down to here. And again, I'm just sitting to demonstrate this for you. And now take in a deep breath, and on the exhale, make the sound of ah. And this is for, actually, no, let's start with the other sound, which is ong, like O-N-G. So make that sound on the exhale, and this is to clean and purify the upper body. And I have a pretty long breath control, so if you run out of breath sooner, you can just take another breath and continue with the sound, or you can just listen to me. Let's do one more. All right, let's do the sound for the lower body, and that sound is ah. But let's repeat the movement. So inhale, lift, hands come up and meet, coming down the front of the body, and now turn the hands down, directing the energy towards the lower body. Lower your shoulders. Take in an inhale. And one more. And take your hands now, bring them to the top of your head, and make sure you can feel them. So you're not pressing hard, but you can feel your hands. Bring them down over your face. Making contact with your whole body, and then reaching down. If you can reach your feet or the floor, that's fine. If not, just go as low as you can. And this movement that we just did is for grounding. So to bring our energy all the way down from the upper body into our legs. So I'll just close with a bow and thank you for your attention today. And I will come closer to the camera and answer any questions that you may have. And so you're welcome to unmute yourself and speak or type into the chat as you like. Any questions or anybody want to share what that was like for you or how you're feeling? Feel free.
Ellen?
Yes.
I'm used to doing conventional exercise like shoulder presses and, gym kind of workouts.
Mm-hmm.
And, you do 10 lunges, you do 10 this, you do 10 that, you pretty much have it down.
Mm-hmm.
How do you figure out what a sequence of Qigong is? How do you know what to put together and how long to do it?
Good questions. And the answer is It depends on the form. So today was a little bit more of a selection of different Qigong. But the part that we did was a series for the nervous system. Uh, those are like a set of movements that I just learned over time, through repetition. And you usually do those 5 to 9 times each. If you want more of a regular routine, then try the Qigong Get Moving with Qigong class, which I teach on Tuesday and Thursday, where there is a sequence and, it takes some time to learn it, but once you do, then it becomes more of that kind of routine. So, yeah, but a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad. Yeah. Certain order of movements. Well, again, there are, if anyone is familiar with yoga, there's like vinyasa yoga is a flow that goes from one to another. So there are certain flows in that. And just with Qigong, they usually call it in Qigong, it's usually called a set. So what I was teaching today was a set of movements for the nervous system. What I often teach in the Thursday, and it's not just Thursday, but I teach in the Get Moving class, is called Morning Medical Qigong. And that is a set of specific movements that work through all the 10 organs. Then there's like other Qigong that I'm still learning called Radiant Lotus. That's a women's Qigong form. And that has certain movements built into it as well. So I mix up the sequences with some additional things, just, to vary it and show you different things. Yeah, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And yeah, so I teach it this time on Tuesday and then also on Thursday, and I teach a morning class on Thursday. This beginner's class I teach again on Thursday morning. And I teach something very different than this called Ageless Grace, which is done to music, and it's for brain health, but it's more playful and more, this is creative and playful in a way, but it's a little serious, Ageless Grace is much more for the play. So different people like different things. It's all beneficial. And I encourage you to come back to class if you liked it. You can get the recording and listen to it again. So sometimes people say, how can I keep going? Well, one way is, of course, come back to class. Another way is, get the recording and just maybe you want to do the whole class or maybe just a few minutes, just some part of it. It's all good. So, yeah. Yeah, and you'll get some notes after the class that will give you some more detail and some other things that you can look at. And it's also some other suggestions for the body, because sometimes it didn't happen today, but sometimes in this class, people will say, I have, like sciatica going on or this or that. And I don't always teach a Qigong movement that is for that, but the stretches and the warm-ups that I teach are all good. And there's some other things in the notes that may be helpful to you around that, some other kinds of gentle stretching. So thank you all for being here. I wish you a healthy, chi-filled night. And pay attention. Notice how you feel, over the next few hours. How's your sleep? How do you feel in the morning? Because when we notice it, whatever we notice starts to become, like they say, what you pay attention to will expand. So if you start noticing the benefits, you'll be more motivated to keep going. So unless there's anything else, any last questions, we'll just end our session for today.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And definitely stay hydrated and see you again in practice.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.